Oh, going door to door, preaching work. That is a key to be a witness. As a matter of fact, you cannot be a witness if you're not witnessing, if you're not going door to door, if you're not preaching to people. That is actually a requirement in order to be baptized. Otherwise, you can't be a witness if you're not witnessing. But that pattern, okay, of going door to door to door, and that pattern of talking to people all the time and getting rejected over and over again actually created some challenges for us even years after we left. Okay, let me explain. You were going door to door. I was going door to door since my very young age, and they prepare you for it. As a matter of fact, one meeting during the week, it's preparation for service. So they tell you what to expect. They prepare you what to say, how to say it. They have a demonstration of how to present it, and of course they're preparing you for what if. So if the householder says I'm busy, if the householder says I have my own religion, if they say I'm not interested, whatever, there is an answer for almost anything we can think of, simply because of the experience that we've got. And interestingly enough, you go and you do this over and over and over again, and your mind starts being programmed. How does our mind being programmed? Well, our mind gets programmed through two things: through repetition and through highly significant events. Highly significant events, highly emotional events, usually, are the ones that something happens that shakes us, right? Something is very highly, when we're very emotional, our mind simply connects those connections like crazy. So if I would ask you, what were you doing on the day of 9/11 when the towers fell in New York? I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to tell me exactly where you were and what you were doing that day, and you'll be able to recall exactly what took place on that day for you. But if I asked you, what were you doing 3 days before that? Chances are most of us forgot. Why? There was no repetition. It was just so significant, so highly emotional, that we all gonna remember that day, chances are, for the rest of our life. So imagine this. Most people that go door to door are very highly emotional. I remember I was not comfortable going door to door, especially at the very beginning. It was very emotional, and then you're doing this also over and over again. So before you go door to door, you prepare yourself with the presentation and you run it over in your head many times. By the time you go to the door, you already said it in your head several times. Then you go to the next door and the next door and the next door, right? And this is how you remember things, and this is how you program your mind. The challenge is, at the beginning, you might be excited about going. You might be looking forward to talking to people. You might think, hey, I'm going to convince some people that we have the truth and the end of the world is coming and Armageddon is just around the corner and we're living in the last days. And maybe that's exciting. But that you hear no and no and no and no, and I'm not interested, and I have my own religion, and you feel that you're a nuisance to people, and people are actually pretending they're not even home. After a while, it becomes such a challenge that people are hoping nobody's home. You go and you press the button, and I'm guilty of it myself, so I know what I'm talking about. You press the doorbell and the doorbell doesn't work, and you're like, yes, I'm so happy. Until the person you're with said, I didn't hear the doorbell, did you? And you're like, you just had to say it. Oh, well, let me knock. I know I wasn't the only one that did not feel comfortable at the door. I know some people loved it. I personally didn't enjoy it. I enjoy going to my return visits and talking to people that I know, but going to strangers, I felt like, you know what? It was not comfortable for them, and it was not comfortable for me. I remember when Mormons came to my door, and I felt very uncomfortable. Most telemarketers, most people who try to sell me something, when they come to my door unannounced and uninvited, I do not feel comfortable talking to them. So I knew that I'm creating the same type of feelings, maybe even worse, for people who see me while I'm there at their door. But here's something interesting. We do this over and over and over again with high emotions. All of a sudden, we don't want people to be home. All of a sudden, we want to be rejected. We're offering magazines we didn't read. And then we're hoping that they will not ask us questions. Because if they say, hey, oh, that's a great idea, come on in. And we're like, what? Sir, we're Jehovah's Witnesses. You understand that? But a lot of us, we were simply so into the routine of placing the magazines, telling them, we'll come back and we ask you some questions, how you feel about it, if you found something interesting in it, and then we run to the next door. It became such a routine that maybe we felt actually comfortable with rejection and uncomfortable with acceptance. And this is where our minds started being programmed. Because when you're comfortable with rejection, then that starts lingering into your everyday life. You could linger into your business. When you go, you try to sell, maybe you promote a product or service that you're selling, and then you have no problem with rejection because you're used to it. But you're anticipating it. You feel comfortable being rejected. You're just taking this as normal, that people will reject you. And it will come through your facial expressions, through your tone of voice, through your body language, that you're happy that people will reject you. I remember that from myself. I went to many different meetings for business meetings and business networking. And I thought, I'm going to be good at it because as a Jehovah's Witness, no problem, right? I talked to so many strangers. But the problem was I actually anticipated to be rejected. And it came through my voice, through my facial expressions, through my body language. It just felt uncomfortable if somebody would say yes to me, because then like all those beliefs came in, like, well, maybe they're thinking I'm scamming them, maybe they're thinking that I'm taking advantage, maybe I'm being greedy over here, right? And then you sabotage my own success because of all those patterns that were developed while actually going door to door and from the beliefs that I received while being trained to be a good preacher. Think about it. Our mind works like this. Whatever feels good, we want more of it. Whatever creates pain, we want less of it, right? And if it felt good to be rejected and it felt painful to be accepted, how do you think that pattern will carry into your everyday life? You're going to sabotage your success almost everywhere. Isn't that true? That so many witnesses who left the organization years later, they're like, I don't know what's going on. It just feels like everything's against me. Well, because you're comfortable with rejection. You want to be rejected. It's part of the programming that you had by going door to door for so often. You were rewarded for showing up. That's another problem. We didn't care whether you converted one person or 100. That completely didn't matter. You didn't get any brownie points. You didn't get privileges for converting people. So it didn't matter how much results you brought to the table. What mattered was, did you show up? Did you put effort? Effort was rewarded. Showing up was rewarded. The results we brought to the table didn't matter completely. As a matter of fact, it was the other way around. When somebody brought some people into the organization, whether it was 1 or 10, it didn't matter. We would not reward them in any way. We would say, stay humble, don't be proud. All the glory goes towards Jehovah, not towards you. So you couldn't even pat yourself on the shoulder for that. There was almost no way you could rejoice in any aspect. You couldn't rejoice in any aspect of your business. You couldn't rejoice in any aspect of success in a religion. You always had to downplay it no matter what success you had. So guess what? Guess what that did to your self-esteem? It's crazy, but a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses really struggle with a self-esteem because they were never rewarded for bringing results. When you leave this organization, you go into the outside world, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I don't know what's going on. I'm not being rewarded for my effort. Nobody cares about your effort. That's how the real life works. Nobody cares how much time and how much effort it took to produce any type of product or service. Everybody cares about results that you're bringing to the table. Everybody, including me. Do I care how long it took to create this pen? How much effort it took to create this pen? I don't care. I care what it does for me. Right? That's all what I care about. Is this useful in my life? That is a challenge. So now that we're out of this mindset, we're out of this indoctrination that we were in, and out of those patterns, well, how do we change them for the better? How do we upgrade our mind into a way of thinking and mindset into being a much more confident person and successful at the same time? Well, the first thing is we got to focus on results. That is our focus. What results are we bringing to the table? If you focus on nothing else but this one question, I guarantee you, your life will turn around in ways that you didn't even think of. This one question: what is my ideal outcome? Even in the middle of a discussion or an argument, you're fighting with your spouse, you're fighting with your neighbor, you're fighting with your boss, I don't care. Stop for a moment and think about, what is my ideal outcome here? What is that I'm trying to achieve? Am I trying to prove somebody's wrong? Good luck with that one. Might be a challenge. Or am I seeking a good positive outcome when there's a win-win for everyone? Or is it, I don't care how much I'm gonna get hurt, I'm gonna destroy you? That's a pattern too, right? So very, very important to upgrade your mind. It's that one thought of, what is my ideal outcome? Here's a good part that we learn from going door to door. We didn't give up. We believed in our message so strong that it didn't matter who was in front of us. It didn't matter what they said to us. We just kept on going. This is a pattern that should stick with you. I actually applaud people who don't give up, because a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, they have this drive and they do things that they don't like doing, they don't enjoy doing, but because they believed in the message so strongly, the objections didn't matter. And this is the pattern that you should carry on actually into your life when you start to build whatever it is, your life, your business, and people will tell you, oh, you're not going to succeed, or give up, or you're not strong enough, you're too something, or you're not enough something. Then please remember the pattern of, we didn't give up no matter what. No matter what, we were very focused on the outcome that we were looking for. We were very focused on what type of people we were engaged with. If you went door to door and somebody said, oh, you people, you kill children by not giving them blood and blah, 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 and then you just say, do we engage with a heckler? Do we say, oh, what religion are you? I'm a Catholic. Well, didn't you hear about the pedophile cases in your church? Didn't you hear about the Pope blessing armies in Germany during World War II, and he had dealings with Hitler? You guys go and kiss the rings of bishops, right? Like, do we engage in that kind of conversation with Catholics? Not a chance. Not a chance. Jehovah's Witnesses were never. They're not interested in doing that right now, because they've learned their lesson. They actually did that. They went way back in their history. They were going with those huge signs right in front of churches saying, Babylon the Great will fall. This is a false religion. Religion is a snare and a rocket and whatever. They did that. And they learned not to do it. They learned that they're building enemies, nothing else. They're not convincing people. They're actually strengthening their faith by becoming an opposition like that. Becoming apostates to the religions they used to be in. Yeah. Does that sound familiar? So this is why I personally would never do it. But some people go on front of conventions and stuff like this. I'm not judging them, don't get me wrong. I think it's very important to spread awareness. It is needed. But I think it's even more important not to get stuck there. I think it's more important to recognize certain patterns that we developed as Jehovah's Witnesses, and then outgrow it. So look for something better. Show by example what you can and cannot do. And if your life becomes better, if not bitter, but better in every aspect that you possibly can, and you focus on building your life and others, when you realize, my life has value and I have something here that I can bring to the table, and I can bring and improve other people's life. Because in order to produce any good results, you have to actually look for problems. You have to look for fear. That's exactly right. Because when you find problems and when you find fear, and you're going to be able to resolve the problem and take people's fear away, that's how you create value. That's how you create value for yourself and others. And this is how you create the ideal outcome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.